Hello traders, this is Rich from Tradesight. This is the market preview for the coming session. This is for Wednesday, February 26th, 2014. We had a pretty flat day when everything was all said and done, with the S&P and the NASDAQ moving less than a point. So with less than a handle of movement, obviously we're going to have to dig down and see what the internals are really saying, because there's not going to be too much as far as price goes, but we will talk about that. Yesterday, the overall flavor that the market left us with, and the impression I was trying to give you with yesterday's preview, was that the internals weren't great, and the price action wasn't that great either, closing kind of at the midpoint. And I think that kind of manifested itself today in the bulls not being able to hold the higher prices that they had ran things up to earlier in the morning. As far as the internals go today, we had negative advance declines on New York by 250 issues and negative 500 issues on the NASDAQ side. The VIX also collapsed down 56 cents, and the bulls had nothing to show for it with no real net advances. So without further ado, let's move on to the ES futures and take a look at the levels. All right, here's a look at the ES futures. One thing to note is that while we didn't really make any net headway as far as the movement goes, we did have an inside day. We traded completely inside of the previous day's range all day, so we're wound up with a little bit of energy. So if we break out of Monday's range, we're going to have a little extra kick to it. So definitely keep your eye on that. To the upside, the level to watch is 1875. To the downside, if we break out of Monday's range, then we're going to put the 10 EMA in play at about 1828, 1829. Here's a look at the NQ futures. Essentially the same day, no real net movement. The bulls were able to hold price, but we did essentially trade inside the previous range. To the upside, the 8 ace level at 3750. If we can clear and break out of Monday's range, is a level to watch. To the downside, the 10 EMA, just like the ES, at 3647 is going to be the one to watch. Here's a look at the bonds. The bonds returned to short-term positive, getting a decent close above the 10 EMA. Just want to note here that if we do retest this high, we're going to wind up getting a 13 exhaustion signal if we can get higher than this 8 bar. So keep that in mind. So anywhere above that 8 bar, maybe anywhere just somewhere in the 7 ace area, is going to give us a signal for a reversal. It's not going to have a whole lot of extension to it, and certainly needs to be in consideration, because your one candle's here. We're going to be getting our exhaustion candle potentially here. One thing we could be looking at here is a little bit more in a bigger pattern, a little bit of a cup and handle type shape, but certainly it's a little bit sloppy. But I think that's probably the best thing the bulls can point to at this point. Gold was fairly strong on the day, made a new high on the move, and also a new high close. If we can clear this 7 ace area, this static trend line here is going to come into play. Note that we are now above all three major moving averages: the 50, the 10, and the 200 DMA. So this is definitely a positive chart, and definitely seeing positive money flows. Take a look at oil. Oil had a kind of a tough session. Broke down a little bit here. Used that 10 EMA, but closed and settled above it. We're definitely feeling the resistance from this last 9 bars to the upside here. If we do push higher, continue higher, and shake loose to the 6 ace level, about 104.5 is going to be your next upside target. To the downside, if we lose the 10 EMA, the 4 ace level at 100 is going to be pretty prevalent. Not only because it's the 4 ace level, but also because it's the 10 EMA here. I'm sorry, the 200 EMA. Here's a look at the multi-sector daily chart. Definitely a pretty good performance out of the BTK. Really starting to come on here and act pretty strongly. The other majors weren't really all that strong. Even the XAU didn't show too much, even with the gold prices doing as well as they did today. Well, let's move on and take a look at the individual sectors and see how they all played out. All right, and here's a look at the individual sectors ranked from best to worst. BTK, obviously the star performer of the day. up well more than 5% on the day. Just keep in mind here there was one stock that did most of the heavy lifting there. That's Intermune, ITMN. That was up 170% individually. So that really definitely colored the index here. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your evaluations. Airline index was also pretty strong. Housing index responding positively to the Case-Shiller number this morning. Pharmaceuticals also pretty strong. Bottom of the list here, XAU, a little bit of a source of funds, and definitely feeling the heat. XBD, broker dealers were pretty weak, and the oil services and the Dow transports were also pretty weak. All right, so here's a look at the BTK index. Really strong move to the upside here. Definitely putting this 8-ace level within reach now before getting to another exhaustion here from the Tradesight Seeker. The CCI is definitely starting to get up there. It's getting up to that area where it's starting to get short-term overbought. Definitely something to keep in mind. Here's the housing sector, which was definitely in play today. But keep in mind that we do have a 13 exhaustion in play. We did not make a new high on this move. Transports were fairly weak today. It's still more or less in this same lateral trading range, just barely hovering above the 10 EMA. Oil services also underperformed the market and posted an inside day. So if we break out of this to the upside, the 4-ace level is going to come into play into the downside. If we lose the Monday low, we're going to have to start looking at this the 200 DMA at the 1-ace level here. XAU was the last laggard by a pretty good margin. They're starting to feel the effects of this 9 bars up to the upside. Also note that we're in the overbought territory here in the GAN box. We did clear the previous high, but when we were doing that, we were getting up into this overbought area, so we're going to find some resistance up in here. To the upside, if we reverse up this plus 2-ace level, 106.25, will be the level to watch, and this 8-ace level is going to be coincident with the 10 EMA, right around that 100 area. So that's going to be pretty powerful to the downside. All right, folks, as always, thanks for listening. And if you enjoy these videos, please give us a thumb up. This has been Rich for Tradesight.